How's life, bro?
So far, so good until Corona came.
Everything
was okay, but now I wouldn't say it's perfect, but we have life, so we can just call it a blessing.
Definitely. We just showed a video of you. That was a splendid performance. What show was that?
Last December, night of 1026 laughs and music.
Wow. We will start from a point, but let me ask you quickly. It's like we've jumped to the middle of the conversation. How do you get the jokes, Charlie? Because when we listen to you, we laugh from the beginning to the end. It's like, how do you control them? And I'm hearing them.
This is as my family. This is as we every time in my family house we vibe. But if you're a stranger and you happen to be in our midst, you might think we are telling jokes. But this is us because my dad is funny. I'm funny. My kid sister is funny. I think it's just my mom who has a little less of a sense of humor. But it's okay. It's normal in my life. And with how I come up with jokes like this, I look at things happening around me. I do observational jokes, things that happen, so people can relate to it. So what you just watch, you realize that it is something within, like it is love, but I just break it down within the sects we have in Ghana, like the airways, the gas, everything. If you had played everything, you would see that I made sure that I touched on how all these tribes treat love. So
great. Now let's start from the beginning. I know say where or suffer bad here. What has been Pastor Sam got to the comedy? The name himself, well, being the son of a pastor, then you probably have to follow, or it is assumed that you follow the footsteps of your father. So let's get to know from the beginning. How did you grow up?
How did I grow up? It's how
school, family,
okay,
Christian life.
It's not been easy. I didn't grow up in a rich family, and I didn't grow up in a poor family. We were just in between. My dad, he made sure like we had the best of education, and I started as a church boy. I used to sing way back in church my primary days with my sister. Then when I got to JSS, I developed the taste for rap music, so I started rapping like other people's songs. Then I got to secondary school. Then I joined this group called Backpage. So when I joined Backpage as a rapper, anytime we sit to like discuss our next move, the next time we're going to record and like rehearse on our next song, the kind of contributions I bring on the table, they laugh. Like you the Kenyans assembly now the assembly fascism. So when we've completed, we all parted ways. The music didn't we didn't really go on with the music. Then one time, a friend of mine who was part of the group, Jem, he called me and said, Lekzy, I want you to pursue comedy. Even though we couldn't move on with the music, I think you have something extra we didn't have, so do it. And I said, no, I can't do comedy. I said, okay, fine. If you go and do comedy, that time I was a radio presenter, I'll put my job on the line. If you fail at comedy, I'll stop radio.
He put his job on the line?
Yes. So I actually went to like do comedy just for him to lose his job and allow me to be, because but when I went, I had a standing ovation the first time I took the microphone, and for a moment I felt like this is where I belong, and that's how come I have been in the game like for all these years. It's been like 7 to 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just went in there for him to lose his
job, like just call him, not necessarily let him lose his job, but just for him to stop bothering me with do comedy. I want you to do comedy. I want you to do comedy. And his whole like problem was he keeps hearing people say GH comedians are not funny. GH comedians, and he doesn't understand why he has a funny friend, and there is this kind of notion around that GH comedians are not funny. Okay, why don't you go in there and change the narrative? And I think so far it's been good. We are still working towards it.
Right. So were you into anything else before you swapped to comedy?
I'm an artist. I'm a graphic designer.
A graphic designer.
Yes.
Okay.
I went to Polytechnic to study graphic designing.
Okay.
But at some point, school after I touched the micro, I feel like I should be the one always being listened to, not me being seated for somebody to be talking to me. So my interest shifted a bit. So after school, I just said, let me do this comedy thing full time. So I gave in my 100%. So
how were you able to break through? I'm sure that before you joined, there were some people who were already in there who were trying to hold up the huge comedy. How were you able to break through? Because I know you've been on stage with some of the big guys in Ghana already. How did they accept you? You know.
Okay, so every time we go and do shows, I would do well. Those days we are the open micers, so the KSM, the DKBs, they will come at the latter part. They won't get a chance to watch me. So when maybe a blogger is around, they write the story, KSM, DKB, Foster, and others. So I was part of the others. So I kept saying, how do I migrate from the others and I become a headline?
A mainstream, yeah.
Okay, so my first time performing, that day I got a manager. The guy who was organizing the show, that's Daniel Lato, my manager. So he called me the next day and said, do you have somebody managing you? I said, I don't have anyone. I said, I want to manage you. I said, okay, manage me. So he was already working with these guys already. So sometimes when they are having a show, because they have not seen me before, he has to beg them, like put my boy on. So there was one particular show that made DKB get to know me. He had a campus tour he was doing at from various campuses. Yeah. So I was then at Accra, and my manager called me and said, DKB is coming to Cape Coast University, so you better meet him there. So when I went, I was worrying DKB, I want to perform. So that was then the time they were supposed to start the program. So when he got there, I was like, you know what, make the boy go perform, make it. So when I got on stage, he was backstage and you could hear the people laughing. So when I came backstage, he was like, what should they tell them for the way?
You blew them ahead.
Yeah, so ever since when he has a show, he will call me, Lekzy, yo, like you did, what will you be doing this week? I said, I have nothing. I want you to come around. Wow. Let's go and do a show. I remember one time I was in the hostel, my phone rang, I was in the bathhouse and KSM called. Then my roommate was like, yo, Lekzy, KSM, they call you. I said, forget that, man. I just want to flex more. After I came up, I went to pick the phone, went out, I was like, boss, I beg, when you want to make a account? So, like, I would say it's been God, and my manager, that's Daniel Lato. He's believed in me from day one till date. I've been working with him from the first day I held the microphone till now. So wherever he is, I say thank you.
Well, that's nice. Have you, ever since you started this comedy, have you ever performed to an audience where you felt a bit intimidated? What show do you remember you stood before the audience and you realized you were being intimidated? I said, as a normal candy being said, you know, some people intentionally sit in front with a country face like this. I said, I
was chased off stage. I wasn't, the people just didn't, if you want to laugh, you like, I get them laughing. But that very day, that was in the early stages of my of comedy. I was building in Kumasi to perform with the likes of Nero X, the late Vibrant Fire.
Yeah.
So once I was on stage, I never, it was salafest, and it's about Muslims, and I went there to mock Muslims. The joke is about, I didn't know that there was jokes for certain audience, because I was in a growing stage. So when I did the joke, I heard one guy, yo, Charlie, where Jimmy say, I didn't mind. I still kept going. Then I saw one guy walking up on the stage with a bottle. Like, I don't know how I dropped the microphone and vanished off stage. Fast. The next morning, I didn't want to even take my balance. I thought I even owed the organizer. Okay, so I'll say that is one of the and there was one time Pastor Ishmael to put me on the show. Priye, the first time Priye came to Ghana, and I wanted to please him, but he wasn't around. But I wanted people like him to come back and hear something like, "Oh, Lekzy did so well." But through all this thing running to my thought, I couldn't like put out my best. Yeah. So out of these kind of experiences, I've realized that sometimes you don't really have to pay attention to a certain individual. Look at the masses, please them. If that individual is within the masses, he or she will also enjoy. So I've grown beyond that.
Very soon we'll be coming to Christian comedy.
Okay.
But let me ask you, what are some of the challenges that you have faced as an individual? Okay, so do this for me. As an individual and in the industry, as in GH comedy, what are some of the difficulties that you face? You think the Ghanaian populace is ready for comedy?
They are ready. I've been doing comedy for like 7 years, as I said. And I started my own comedy show, that's Laugh Line.
Okay.
And every time that I put the flyer out, I get people like asking for ticket. These are the same Ghanaians that we used to think they were not. But now we've moved past the level where Ghanaian. It's just some people still feeding on what the media used to tell them, that GH comedians are not funny. Most people haven't even like checked us out on social media, YouTube, or come over to watch our shows to testify for them. So they're just following what other people have said and what the media has drummed into their heads. But one of the biggest challenges, support. Like corporate bodies, we don't get sponsorship. I remember there was a time I had a deal with one company, I don't want to mention the name. I was supposed to be their brand ambassador, and it took a Ghanaian within the company, because it was a Chinese company, to tell them that GH comedians are not funny, and they called the deal off. They called it. Mostly when we could be close to the deal, then our own people will just drop in a word or two, and the whole thing will just, they would prefer the deal to be given to a foreigner than to be given to a Ghanaian. So it has been one of our major challenges, and I keep saying this, that now you can't mention concept party without tagging along with Key Soap.
Yeah.
So GH contemporary comedy, that's be the stand-up comedian. It's a fallow ground. It's a place where nobody has really invested. So if there is any corporate body out there, because since it's a growing, they can all grow with us, so that a time will come you can never mention GH comedy without tagging it along with, maybe let's say Ec12one sponsors GH, kind of like Ec12one comedy or something. So it goes with the brand name. So I was just telling the corporate, and Ghanaians too they should support their own. There was a time that Korean cars, Japan cars, if you drive them in Ghana, people tell you that they are not correct. But it took the people over there to believe in what they have, and it got to a point the whole world had no option. That Ghanaians drive Mahindra. It's from India. So even if we are not doing something right, constructively, our own people should like criticize us. But to sideline us and make us feel like we are of no use to them. Because there have been so many shows that we go, and these foreigners, they feel like they are so good. The media doesn't tell them that they come here and they also like get it wrong most of the time. And we are on top of the game. This show you watched had a standing ovation.
Wow.
But the media never mentioned it. But if I had like gone wrong on that same day, I think the whole Ghana will hear about it. And another thing too is the media. If I go on a show with other GH comedians and I don't do well, they should mention my name. Lekzy didn't do well.
Yeah.
Then they criticize me. They don't just say because of Lekzy. When the rest of the comedians do well, they don't just box all of us and say GH comedians flop. It's just like you just want one small mistake just to generalize everybody and make us look like we are all not. And it happened last, I think, Global Laughter Fest. It was about 3 shows. DKB did well the first show. He never had the hype. Foster Romanus had a bad time. They branded the whole GH comedy fraternity as unfunny. The next time DKB killed it, Foster killed it, DKB had it. They still went back and said GH comedy. So single out the individual and constructively tell the person, okay, you've been doing well, but today you got it wrong.
All right.
Then we grow.
Yes, our time is really running. But let me ask you, what will you say have been your breakthrough? I mean, a stage, the biggest stage you've ever performed on ever since you joined comedy?
Nigeria.
Okay.
I went to Acapella's one mic and I. That was a special at Echo State Hotel.
Yeah.
And he invited me last year. This year was supposed to be like one of my major breakthroughs. I was supposed to be in UK for a show.
Wow.
And Corona
messed things up.
Yeah, last year to the same thing, South Africa. I was supposed to be in South Africa, and xenophobic attack came into the picture. And
wow.
So it's like when I'm going to Nigeria, my family members don't follow me. They just allow me to go. West African countries, they can go. But when I'm moving towards where I will see snow or something,
they want to go with you. Lekzy, do you think the being a Ghanaian comedian should be a full-time profession? Is it does it fetch enough?
It depends on the level at which you've gotten with your career.
Okay.
Currently, I can say it's okay for me. I'm not earning as much as some musicians earn.
Okay.
But out of comedy, I've been able to start a project.
Okay.
You get it. If it doesn't pay enough, I don't think I would be able to do it. So
if I have an event and I should call you for a performance,
it depends on the event you are calling me. If it's a paid event, it has its
own rate,
and it's something that you are doing for free. And it depends on the company even involved. So yes.
Okay. So what advice will you give to any young Ghanaian who wants to go into comedy?
Just believe in yourself and find any comedy club. We have a lot. We have my show, that's Laugh Line. I do every first Saturday of the month at Snap Cinemas.
Okay.
After this corona pandemic, I will have a free show for people to come and watch comedy. Yes. So, and I have BKB2 has Comedy Express. Yeah. Foster Romanus has Foster has a show.
Okay. All right.
So I think when you get to know that we are having these shows, just come. Practice makes perfect. So when you come, you learn from others and you build your craft.
So during the lockdown, we've had some of the gospel musicians, or not even gospel musicians, doing virtual concerts here and there. We've not seen anything from the GH comedy body. Are you planning on doing anything like that, or as for you need the masses, you need the face-to-face interactions?
A few of my colleagues have done it. Obi has done it. Foster Romanus has done
it. Not been
but like no, collectively we've not come together, and to do that it takes money. Because we are not really getting direct distance. So at least somebody should be there to back us up and sponsor for maybe a studio or something, but something like that hasn't happened. I think the Ministry for Tourism did it for the musicians, and I heard they had something small for food also. They should also look at our direction in depressing times like this.
Lekzy, our time is almost up. Before you put out your social media handles, one last question before the social media handles. When you look at Christian comedy in itself, that is to say that people are carving a niche for themselves, saying that they want to do Christian comedy. Do you plan of doing anything like that in the future? Looking at where you've come from, your background, you know.
I once had a word with Pastor Timothy Bentu and Pastor Ishmael. I think I've mentioned it to him before. I wanted to do a comedy show to raise funds and go and maybe build a library for one school I identified at Begro. It's for school for kids with deformity. I wanted to build a library for them, something that will be favor their state, their condition. But I think the church space is what I am struggling to get.
Why are you struggling to get a church space?
Well, I'm a perfectionist, and when I do comedy shows, I want it in a special space, so that when you come, when you look at the environment, and you are giving, you will know that I need to give and give well. So that's where I'm at. So Baker's Chapel.
That's the part. All right, so Lekzy, I do social media handles, and then we'll have you for a lengthy time, maybe next time.
That was very short. The interview was very short. You look at my height,
and I have a lot of questions, but anyway,
my height,
because but I thought past you small, so that one day.
All right. Okay, so my on YouTube is Lekzy Decomic, Lekzy Decomic, Decomic. Autocorrect might give you demonic. Change it back. And say Decomic, type Decomic on Instagram, Lekzy_Decomic, Facebook, Lekzy Decomic, everywhere. And my mobile number is.
You can add the mobile.
Okay.
Or they should DM for the mobile.
Oh yeah.
There's All right, thank you very much, Lekzy Decomic. Thank you so much for passing through. We've had an amazing time. Our time is up. I have a lot of questions for him actually, but this is where time will permit us